Good evening, my friends. Welcome to my home and the lovely evening that we're going to have. Actually, it's kind of midday and we're having a kids party. Today, I'm going to show you how I made this adorable monster mash for kids. So stick around and I'll show you how I make these adorable little monsters, the balloon garland behind me, and easy to do Halloween treats for your party. So let's get right into it. I started off this project by making a host of really cute monsters, and this is a great place to get kids involved with the decorations. Just make sure you're supervising the use of the hot glue gun. So I'm starting off with some feather boas, a plastic disposable cup, some pipe cleaners in coordinating colors, and different sizes of googly eyes. And I'm just going to start off by making some eyes for this. I'm going to curl up my pipe cleaner a little bit, and that's where I'm going to attach my googly eye too, and use just a little bit of hot glue here. If you're not comfortable with kids and hot glue, you can always do some really large glue dots for this. I'm just using hot glue today because it'll make it really quick. So I'm going to repeat this with all 5 of my pipe cleaners. Now, I was not smart and didn't put my eyes on to start with, so put your eyes on before you glue it to the top of the cup. So I just took my pipe cleaners, I twisted them together and fanned out the bottom to make feet and hot glued that to the bottom of the cup. Then I'm taking the end of my boa and I'm just going to cut off this extra little piece of rope. It's not needed for this. I'm going to find that center cord and put a little bit of hot glue and attach that to the cup. Hold it in place a few seconds while it's drying, and then I'm just going to wrap it around a couple times until it looks fluffy and full and you can't see the cup underneath of it. And then I just found the end of the boa one more time, finding that center rope and cutting that. And then when I went to glue it, I had to make sure that I glued the end to the cup. I found that if you weren't sure to glue it to the base and just glued it to some feathers or something, it might droop a little bit and expose the cup. So make sure that it's connected to something solid. And I just fiddled with the eyes until I was happy with their placement. For the next monster, I'm going to be using a paper towel tube and a thinner boa here. I'm just going to glue it to the base of the paper towel tube and wrap it around once and secure that bottom so it doesn't ease up a little bit and show the paper towel tube. Once that's secure, I'm just going to twist it all the way up until the entire paper tube is covered and you can't see anything between the boa feathers. Now this is a great place to get creative. If you wanted to make some arms or horns or anything that you wanted to add to these monsters, you could do that before you wrap up the boa using some more of those chenille stems or pipe cleaners. So once you've got it glued to the top and you've tucked the tail into the top to cover the whole of the paper towel tube, I just glued on a couple more googly eyes. This one seemed like he needed 3, and then this one's ready to party as well. The third way I built a monster was by using a foam core square that's about 3 inches across and a 12-inch dowel rod that I just poked a hole in the base and secured with some hot glue. And then what I'm going to do is take my feather boa, the ones that are really fluffy will work best here, and I'm just going to find the end of the rope again, that center cord, and glue it to the top. And I'm just going to twist this all the way down until you can't see the dowel rod anymore. This gives me a super skinny and tall monster and is another great way to make a monster, but feel free to dig through your recycle bin or look around your house to things you can glue these feather boas to, and you can have all kinds of different shapes and sizes of monsters really easily from around the house. So I've wrapped it up, I've glued it to the bottom, and I'm just going to give him one eye for this monster, and it'll be ready to go. When I'm putting the table together, I need a little height to display things on, so I'm going to take this black plastic bucket and I'm going to make it into a mummy. So I'm using these gigantic googly eyes with a little bit of hot glue. I'm just going to put 2 eyes on the bucket with the hot glue, and then I'm going to wrap it up using some medical gauze. So I've got a roll here that I'm going to cut in half because I found the thinner strips works better and looks more interesting. So with a little bit of hot glue, I'm just going to attach it to the side of the bucket and start wrapping the gauze around, keeping it kind of snug. It looks better tighter. You don't want it to sag. So I just went around a couple times until I got to the end of the roll, hot glued it in place, and attached my second bit to make it a little longer. And just finished it off going around. I did have to secure it in a couple places with a little bit of hot glue so that I could get a good angle on it, but wrapped it around a couple times and secured the end. And there you go, a mummy riser for the table. The next thing I did was make the main decoration for the backdrop, which is an organic balloon display. I'm using 3 metallic colors in purple, green, and black, and then some plain white balloons that are 12 inches large. And I'm inflating these to 3 different sizes. I'm not using a sizer. It doesn't have to be super precise in the balloon sizes, so I'm just making some big ones, mediums, and small ones. And it's important, I found, to have more small balloons than large balloons because they're easier to manipulate and make the balloon garland look really tight. So I'm using 20 purple, 20 green, 10 black, and I'm filling 5 white balloons here that I'm gonna put eyeballs on. I'm using a plastic cup as a template to draw a really nice circle on the balloon. I'm doing all of this with a permanent marker, and I'm just gonna trace around the cup to give me that nice circular pattern, pull it off, and then I'm gonna draw a highlight on the eye. And this makes the eye look a little friendly. And then I'm just gonna fill it in using the permanent marker. If the marker begins to run a little thin and it looks like it's not drawing very well, just scribble on a piece of scrap paper on the side and that'll get the ink flowing again in the marker. If I were to do this again and I was making lots of balloons, I might do this with a vinyl cutter, but for 5 balloons, a marker works just fine. I then took all of the balloons and twisted them into pairs, wrapping it around twice and then tying a knot. Now, they don't have to be same size or color. It's good to mix it up and keep it pretty random because this will give you a nice organic nature to the balloon column. So once you've got all the pairs, put almost all of them into quads just by twisting the 2 pairs together, and then leave like 2 pairs free to fill in places where maybe you need a couple small balloons. With all the balloons gathered, I'm using a little bit of lightweight fishing line, and I'm going to take the end of that and attach it to my first quad. Now just wrap it a couple times in between the balloons in kind of a figure 8 pattern, and this will secure the fishing line to the first set of balloons. Now just like I would with a normal balloon pillar, I'm going to take my first quad and grab a second quad and snug it up really close to the balloons I've got, keeping a hold of my fishing line. And I'm going to wrap that fishing line between the balloons on my current quad and the previous quad, and this will secure the 2 together. And then I'll just repeat this step for the entire length of the balloons that I want. Adding a quad to the previous one, wrapping the balloons with the fishing line. Here I've got a pair. It looked like I had a bit of a hole, so I've got a small pair of balloons that I'm wrapping with fishing line before I add my next quad. Now I'm trying to keep my eyeballs towards one side, that'll be the front, but you'll be able to manipulate the balloons a little bit once it's hung. And so get clear to the end, adding all of the quads and pairs together. And then once you get to the end of the line, leave a nice long tail of fishing line because that's how I'm going to attach it to the backdrop. So I've got a couple safety pins pinned to the back side of my backdrop right near the pipe, and I'm just going to tie that fishing line to that safety pin. So I've got one at the very end, I've got one at the middle here that I'm going to take fishing line and tie it to the center point of my balloons, just weaving it in and out in a figure 8 pattern a couple times. And then I'm going to attach that fishing line to the safety pin at the top of the display again. I added an uplight below the balloons, and that really accentuated the metallic in the balloons. I prepared some healthy as well as some sweet treats for my party. So I've got a bunch of bananas here, and I'm just taking some self-adhesive googly eyes, some medical gauze, and some glue dots to make some mummy bananas. I start off by cutting the gauze in half to give some nice thin strips around the bananas. I'm going to attach my googly eyes. Now, this is another great project to involve the kids on, and it doesn't involve a hot glue gun. So once the eyes are attached, I'm going to lay the banana on its side, and on the back side behind the eyes, I'm going to attach one glue dot. Now this is how I'll secure down the medical gauze. So just take the gauze, press it in place, and then wrap the banana how you see fit. So you can add lots of gauze for a really covered mummy, or keep it light and simple. I'm just going to cut the end here and apply one more glue dot to secure the back side. And that's it for the mummy bananas. They look so cute on the party table. The next healthy treat are jack-o'-lantern oranges. So I picked up a bag of Mandarin oranges. I'm just gonna put on some faces using a permanent marker. I looked up some common jack-o'-lantern faces, and I'm just copying those onto the oranges. If you have trouble with your permanent marker on the orange, it's just like the balloon where the ink can kind of run dry in the marker. So have a piece of paper nearby that you can scribble on to get that ink flowing again, and you won't have any problem putting faces on your oranges. Whether you like to make your treats from scratch or buy them from the grocery store, an easy way to turn lots of different treats into monsters is with these candy eyes. You can find them at local stores or you can order them offline. You just take all the little eyes and just put them on the frosting or in the trail mix or whatever it is you've got. Adding these candied eyes turns them instantly into fun monsters. So I have some store-bought cupcakes here that I'm adding them into the frosting, but I also made some colored Rice Krispie treat balls and added the eyes to while they were still sticky. And with that simple addition, I have cute little monsters to put on my table. And then it was time to pull it all together. So it's important to remember that you need height and texture on a table. So I have the mummy at the back of the table as well as another orange bucket to give me height. I've mixed my treats and monsters across the table, so I've got the fluffiness of the monsters as well as this glitter tool that I'm putting on, and the food is at different heights and depths at the table. It's easy to reach with the cups and the plates at the front and easy to grab. Now the final step that I'm going to do is add the punch. Now I've just got a green simple punch here that I put a light behind, and that will make it look like the punch is glowing. Now on top of using the light behind the punch, I'm also going to be adding little pieces of dry ice to the punch. So I've got gloves on my hands to protect myself from the ice, and I'm just adding small pieces to the punch. And it's so much fun to watch it bubble over and smoke like that. Just make sure that when you're dipping up your punch, you're not getting any pieces of ice into anyone's cups. And that's all the elements you need to put together this monster party. I love the fact that the whole family can get involved with putting this together with such easy projects for such a fun look. This party has made me want to do the Monster Mash myself. There are so many cute elements to this, and I love a really adorable Halloween party that's not super scary. And with this, I'd be happy to bring my nieces and nephews to this party. So whether you made some of the adorable monsters, the treats, or the cool balloon garland, I'd love to hear about it. Let me know if you try to do this for your own home party or a community event that would be great for kids to enjoy. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It really helps out my channel and lets me know that you're enjoying this content. So have a happy Halloween, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!